A train used to carry mail from Scotland straight down to England. Once in the dark of a night, a band of robbers brought it to a halt at a site that was a complete wilderness. Why did they stop the train carrying mail? What was it they were after? They had come to know about a secret. It was known to a few that the second coach right after the engine carried cash that ran in millions. Who gave them the secret information? How did they stop a train? And what happened to the robbers? It is a story of hopes, betrayals, and regrets. A story that has no parallel in the history of crimes and came to be known as the Great Train Robbery. A tight gang of robbers had been operative in London in the late 50s, the age that featured ambitions and consumerism, the age that ignited a culture of desires, and the age that drew the folks to acquire wealth. The gang members were no exception. Obsessed with the desire to possess heaps of wealth, they were desperate to undertake any adventure. It is the second half of the year 1963. Brian Field, a solicitor's clerk in London, approaches two members of the gang. He tells them that they might want to see a certain person. It is regarding a secret piece of information that can earn them a huge amount of money. The person, he goes on, does not want to disclose his true identity. Brian Field, however, divulges that the mystery man is an insider from within the security of the Royal Mail train, and he further reveals that the insider has been on the search for a gang of robbers for a long time, a gang that has the capacity and the nerve to take the task, and that he means serious business. The gang he has engaged has emerged from the southern suburbs of London. It is led by Bruce Reynolds, and its prominent members include Charlie Wilson, Ronnie Biggs, Buster Edwards, and Gordon Goody. The two robbers take the invitation to Bruce, the gang leader, and a meeting is set with the insider in Finsbury Park. Goody and Edwards are sent to the meeting. The insider informs them about a secret service that is performed by the Royal Mail train. The train does not carry only mail, but also something that is a means to everything. The coach next behind the engine carries cash that is beyond the requirements of Scottish banks. It is sent to the Central Bank of London. Not only that, but the surplus cash from other banks is also collected on its way from Glasgow to Euston Station in London. The insider goes on that the last station from which cash is collected is Rugby, and by the time it reaches Euston, it has 60 to 70 bags of money. Edwards inquires eagerly, exactly how much cash does it bring to Euston? The insider takes a little pause and then addresses Edwards. Rough guess, $1 million, and if it follows a bank holiday, it may be much more than that. Hearing the amount, Gordon Goody buys the idea on the spot. Edwards further inquiries with increasing curiosity. And how about the security? The insider smiles and reveals there is no security. The coach boards only a few men from the mail staff. The meeting ends and the parties take separate ways. The details of the proposition are brought to the attention of Bruce Reynolds. They decide to visit Euston Station and verify the information. Bruce cannot believe his eyes. Seeing the number of bags being unloaded from the second coach, he talks to himself. That's the score I have been looking for. An amount of money that can transform their lives for good. The planning gets underway with utmost velocity and attention. Things are put into order. How do they stop the train in the first place? Different options are considered, but none of them seems to work. Eventually, Bruce Reynolds asks in desperation, how do they stop the train normally? Goody replies, they do it through signals. Well, that's it then. We'll also use the signals, retorts Bruce. But Charlie Wilson objects. No one in the gang knows how to tamper with the signals. Bruce sets the rule. If you cannot do something, find someone who can. The gang is now dealing with the question, where can they get such a person? A shine appears in Edward's eyes that carries him away a little bit. He declares he knows a man called Roger Cordery, a florist in Brighton. Roger is specialized in rigging the trackside signals to stop trains. Edwards wastes no time, and next, he is traveling to Brighton. Edwards meets Roger and lays down the proposition before him. He agrees on the condition of equal share. The gang takes him on board. The most difficult task, stopping the train, has been taken out of the way. But stopping a train is not the same as stopping a car. How can they go unnoticed when a gigantic vehicle that weighs thousands of tons is stopped short in its journey? A machine that is visible even from a mile or so. The gang needs to pick the right spot and the right time. They need to find an isolated spot for their adventure. They set off to conduct a thorough survey of the region, and finally, they arrive at a perfect site called Bridego Bridge, which is built across a road. A handy road will be instrumental in fleeing after the robbery. Moreover, the spot they select comes after Rugby, the final station where cash bags are boarded. So, the gang will have the train with the maximum cash. They need to stop the train exactly at Britigo Bridge, but the signal they will use to stop the train comes a little earlier at Sears Crossing. And with this realization, they foresee another obstacle raising its head. They will need a train driver to move the train further to the bridge. A search is started. The gang has enough resources to find one, and soon they reach out to a retired train driver called Peter, a guy with a tendency for crimes. So he is invited on board. With Peter getting aboard, the gang expands to 17 members, including 2 crucial accomplices. The planning is complete until the cash is in their hands and they are on their way. What next? They know the police will be on the hunt for them like an angry wolf. They cannot just rob the train and move around freely with stolen money. Right after the heist, the gang needs a secret shelter where they can stay hidden until the heat is off. So they rent a rundown, isolated farmhouse in a countryside called Leathersland, invisible from the road with enough space for parking, and 27 miles away from the crime scene. The shelter sounds perfect. They will supply the house with enough provisions to last them for weeks. Next, they manage to get a truck and 2 Land Rovers using fake documents. The gang assembles at a secret place. They go through the plans for the last time. Each member is assigned a unique task. Bruce forbids carrying any sort of weapon except short, heavy canes, and warns the gang against any violence during the heist. He wants to stay as clean as possible. The gang picks 8th August for their operation based on the information provided by the insider. August 8th will be followed by a bank holiday, so the amount of cash will be much more than usual. The gang decides to assemble at the farmhouse on the 6th of August. The plan is finalized, the target has been set, and the tasks have been assigned. The day is approaching fast. Every member of the gang is overwhelmed with the task ahead. The risk is too high, just like the reward, and same is the pressure. Can they take it? Only time will tell. It is the 6th of August. The entire gang has assembled at the farm well in time. Their robbers' instincts are ablaze. Each of them is focused and composed. Now they are waiting for the moment that will leave indelible prints on them for the rest of their lives. On 7th August, they receive a message from the insider. The train has left Glasgow at precisely 6:50 p.m. and it is scheduled to arrive at Euston at 4 a.m. the following morning. And with this message, the heist is on. All the thieves get into action as a dead person comes to life. They get equipped, board the vehicles, and speed to the spot. The gang arrives at Sears Crossing and waits for the train. It is the 8th of August, 1963. The clock is about to strike 3 o'clock in the morning. The gang spots the train coming from afar like a giant snake with bolts of light from its eyes. It blows the siren as if to warn the thieves about the enormity of the crime. But there is no going back. Roger Corddry takes his position alongside the signal. They feel the adrenaline rush that renders them alert, full of energy, and ever swift to get into action. He stuffs a leather glove into the panel and off goes the green signal. He then attaches the battery to the red signal and the red light starts glaring. Jack Mills, the train's driver, finds himself coming across an unexpected red light at Sears Crossing and is bound to stop the train at precisely 3 o'clock in the morning. Surprised, he sends his co-driver, David Whitby, down the train to call the signalman from a line-side telephone, but the telephone lines are already cut off by the robbers. David tries to inform Jack, but he is grabbed and tied up by a robber. The robbers enter the driver's cabin from both sides. Jack tries to tackle a robber, but he is hit from behind with a cane by the other robber. He falls down with a severe injury to his head, but he survives. The criminals do not intend to be violent, but the circumstances push them to do what they think is needed. Next, the robbers detach all of the coaches except the second coach behind the engine. The moment is getting more and more heated. Now they have to drive the train up to the Britigo Bridge, where the vehicles are parked. So far, the scheme has worked to perfection. In the next moment, something goes wrong and sends chills in the entire gang. The driver they have brought with them, called Peter, disappoints them in the most decisive moment. He finds the engine dashboard a bit modern and fails to drive it because he has been retired for a couple of years now. Tension starts rising. Adrenaline starts pumping even harder. Bruce, who is waiting at the Bridego Bridge, is informed through a walkie-talkie. "Turn to the Jack Mills," he replies. Jack Mills has now regained consciousness. Already terrified, he is now threatened with his life and forced to drive the train to the Bridego Bridge. They have brought the train to the bridge, but the time is running out. Every second matters. It is either getting them close to their prize or dragging them away from it. The robbers' wing assigned to attacking the money coach gets into action. They enter the coach. The male staff is taken by surprise. Two men try to show some resistance, but they are overpowered in no time. All of the men in the coach are made to lie on the floor with their faces down. There, in front of the robbers, are mail bags stuffed full of banknotes. Goody picks up one of the bags, cuts it open, and confirms that it is cash. There are full 10 shilling notes, 1 pound notes, and fivers. The gang is lagging behind the schedule. They feel the pressure of time tightening up. They are left with only 15 minutes at their disposal now. They form a human chain from the coach to the truck, and they start shifting the bags. They have shifted 120 bags, but still 8 bags are left in the coach when Bruce sends a message: "The time is up, abandon the coach." Goody objects. Some bags are left, but Bruce overrules: "Abandon the coach immediately." Goody brings Jack and his co-driver David to the coach as well. Before Goody leaves, he warns them, "Do not move for 30 minutes. At precisely 3:45 a.m., the gang gets off the train, gets aboard the vehicles, and flees the spot. The gang arrives at the farmhouse in Leathersland at 4:30 a.m. The plan has been extremely well executed. Once at the farmhouse, they listen to the news on VHF radio. The first report of the crime is being made. The gang is ecstatic beyond proportions. As they pile the stolen cash, their eyes gleam with triumph. They are laughing and celebrating their victory, but they are unaware of the fact that a great catastrophe awaits them, and the money they are happy with has brought an impending doom for them and their families. Now the police get into action. They storm the site of the crime and get statements from the staff on the coach. They collect evidence left behind and make their strategy to track the robbers. The press has also populated the site, bombarding every police officer and male staff member with questions to craft intriguing stories. British people rise from their sleep to the astonishing news. They are taken aback by the daring act of the robbers. Their sensation is further fueled by the media. Back at the farm, the robbers have counted the money and divided it into 16 full shares and smaller amounts of money for the associates of the gang. Each member gets approximately £150,000, but at the same time, robbers keep tuned to the radio, and they learn that the police have figured out that the gang is holed up somewhere within a 30-mile radius of the crime scene. How on earth did they come to the conclusion? It was because of Goody's warning to the male staff not to move for 30 minutes. The 30-minute time has led the police to the opinion that the robbers did need that time to get to their shelter, and they can go only as far as 30 miles in 30 minutes. Now the police are on the hunt. They have spread out to find their hiding place. The gang has sensed the danger of being caught. They bring a sudden change in the plan. They will abandon the farmhouse on Friday rather than Sunday. They cannot use the same vehicles again. Brian Field visits the gang on Thursday and makes the arrangement to take the gang away. The farmhouse needs to be set on fire to destroy any incriminating evidence. The gang assigns Field with the task of setting the farmhouse on fire. On Monday, Charlie rings Brian Field to find out if he has done the job. Field assures Charlie, but his voice lacks conviction. There is something terribly wrong with his demeanor. Charlie is skeptical. He is quiet for some time, but he is concerned. He has sensed a killer mistake that will drown the entire gang. Charlie keeps reflecting on how Field has been behaving lately. With every second that goes by, his suspicion grows heavier, and finally, it turns into a certainty. He immediately calls a meeting with James, Bruce, and Edwards. They call Field to report at the meeting immediately. Deep down, Charlie already knows that Field has ruined them all, but his hopes hinge on a final word from Field. Field arrives and looks very down and out of spirits. As soon as Charlie lays his eyes on him, he shoots a direct question: "Have you burnt the farmhouse?" Field does not answer, but looks down. Charlie shouts at him, "Look at me, damn it," and repeats the question: "Is it a yes or no?" Field is unable to speak. He raises his head and nods. No. Field had negligently sub-assigned the task to Mark, who took money and ran away. Field's confession drives Charlie mad. Charlie loses his temper to the last degree and makes an attempt to murder Field on the spot, but he is restrained by others. The gang decides to go back to the farm to burn it, but they soon come to know that the police have already taken the premises into custody. The police have been helped by a nearby resident at Leathersland who had become suspicious of the comings and goings of the gang at the farm. Hiding in the countryside was a big mistake. It is because country folk by nature question anything strange in their surroundings. If they had been in urban areas, they would have gone unnoticed. The gang is still unaware of the fact that the state has taken the robbery as a disgrace to its establishment. A flying squad composed of 8 people is formed, and it is headed by the smartest and the most honored detective of London police, Tommy Butler, as the chief detective in the investigation. Butler wastes no time and carries out his investigation with amazing precision. Butler gives the gang a shock with the speed at which he pursued the case. He takes statements from every individual who has got a shred of information. He takes the fingerprints from the farmhouse to get them confirmed, and once he has sufficient evidence, he swoops down on the robbers like an eagle and captures them one by one. Most of the gang was captured and put to trial and got sentences of long imprisonment. The general public objected to the unusually long imprisonments, but the state wanted to make a lesson of them. However, some of them managed to escape capture and stayed in exile for some time. Bruce Reynolds, after his release from prison, was once asked in an interview who was the mystery man, the insider who conceived the whole idea, to which Bruce replied he called himself Ulsterman, but he never disclosed his real name. Who was this mystery man remains a mystery to this day. The robbers of the Great Train Robbery met a tragic end and paid a huge price for their adventure, but to many British, they are heroes. For what they did extracts courage and strength of will, and even to some, they are triumphant because the police could not recover the greater part of the cash they stole. Aside from a few exceptions, the stolen money was swiftly laundered by friends, family, and associates of the robbers.